They say the heart knows what the mind refuses to accept. For 28 years, I had perfected the art of pretending I was happy, pretending I had it all figured out, pretending that the life I'd built was the one I actually wanted. But hearts, like dams holding back torrents of truth, can only withstand so much pressure before they crack. My name is Emma Sullivan, and this is the story of the night everything changed. The night I stopped lying to myself. The night my carefully constructed world came crashing down, only to reveal something more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. The Monday morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of our downtown loft, casting geometric shadows across the pristine white marble floors. I stood at the kitchen island, my hands wrapped around a cup of organic green tea, watching my fiancé Marcus as he scrolled through his phone, his perfectly pressed navy suit already immaculate at 7 in the morning. "The Hendersons confirmed for Saturday," he said without looking up. "That makes 43 definite RSVPs for the engagement party." "Great," I replied, my voice automatically cheerful. "Amanda said she'd help with the seating chart tonight." Marcus finally glanced up, his sharp blue eyes assessing me with the same calculating precision he used in the boardroom. "You look tired, Em. Did you use that eye cream I bought you?" My hand instinctively moved to my face. "Yes, I just didn't sleep well." "You need to take better care of yourself. The wedding photos are in 4 months." He stood, brushing invisible lint from his jacket. "I have back-to-back meetings until 6. Don't forget we're having dinner with my parents tonight. Wear the blue dress, my mother loves you in blue." He kissed my forehead with the perfunctory affection of routine, grabbed his briefcase and was gone before I could respond. The silence that filled the apartment after he left was both a relief and an indictment. I looked around at our home, all clean lines, expensive furniture, and absolutely no personality. It looked like something out of an interior design magazine, which was exactly what Marcus wanted. But where was I in all this? Where were the colorful throw pillows I loved, the books that used to pile up on every surface, the plants I once nurtured like children? The version of myself that would have cared about those things felt like a distant memory, a girl I'd left behind somewhere between college graduation and becoming the person I thought I was supposed to be. My phone buzzed, a text from my best friend since childhood, Lily. "Lily asterisk coffee, I need to see your face, not just your Instagram perfection." I smiled despite myself. Lily had a way of seeing through my carefully curated social media presence. While everyone else commented on how lucky I was, how perfect my life looked, Lily sent me memes about existential dread and asked if I was actually happy. "Me asterisk Café Lumiere at 10. Lily asterisk already there. Ordered your usual, your real usual, not the green juice you pretend to like." Café Lumiere was everything our loft wasn't: warm, chaotic, full of mismatched furniture and local art covering every wall. The scent of fresh-baked cinnamon rolls mixed with espresso and indie music played softly in the background. I felt my shoulders relax the moment I walked in. Lily sat in our usual corner, her wild curly hair barely contained in a messy bun, wearing paint-stained overalls over a vintage band t-shirt. She looked exactly like what she was, a struggling artist who was somehow more content than everyone else I knew. "There she is," Lily said, pushing a large caramel latte toward me, the bride-to-be herself. I slid into the seat across from her, immediately wrapping my hands around the warm cup. Marcus would be horrified by the calorie content, but the first sip tasted like rebellion. "You look like you haven't slept in days," Lily observed, her brown eyes concerned. "And before you tell me you're fine, remember that I've known you since we were 7. I know what your face looks like when you're lying." I opened my mouth to offer some practiced reassurance, but something in Lily's expression stopped me. Maybe it was the weight of the pretending that had grown too heavy. Maybe it was the safety of being with someone who knew me before I became this polished version of myself. Whatever it was, the words that came out were not the ones I'd planned. "What if I'm making a mistake?" Lily didn't look surprised. She simply took a sip of her own coffee and said, "About the wedding." "About everything," I whispered, the admission feeling both terrifying and relieving. "The wedding, Marcus, my job at his father's firm, this entire life I've built. What if none of it is actually mine? What if I've been following someone else's blueprint?" "Then you stop following it." "It's not that simple, Lil. We have deposits down, invitations ordered. His mother has been planning this wedding for months, and my job is working for your future father-in-law at a corporate law firm that makes you miserable," Lily finished. "Emma, do you remember what you wanted to do before Marcus, before you decided to be practical?" I did remember. God, I remembered so clearly it hurt. I wanted to write, I wanted to travel, I wanted to work for that nonprofit that helps refugees with legal services. And what happened to that, Emma? She grew up, I said, but the words felt hollow even to me. She realized that dreams don't pay the bills, that stability matters, that love isn't just about passion and excitement, it's about partnership and building a future. Did you realize that, or did Marcus tell you that? The question hit like a physical blow, because the truth was I couldn't remember when those thoughts had become my own. Had they ever been mine, or had I simply absorbed them through 3 years of relationship osmosis, slowly morphing into the person Marcus needed me to be? "He loves me," I said, but even I could hear the uncertainty in my voice. "I don't doubt that he loves the version of you that you've become," Lily said gently. "But does he love the real you? Does he even know her? Do you even know her anymore?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. Marcus's face appeared on the screen, the professional headshot he insisted I use instead of the candid photo I'd taken of him laughing at one of my terrible jokes. "I have to take this," I said apologetically. Lily nodded, but her eyes said everything she didn't. "This is exactly what I'm talking about." "Hey," I answered. "Emma, I need you to do something for me." No greeting, no warmth, just immediate demands. "My assistant called in sick and I need someone to drop off the Anderson contracts at the courthouse before 2. You're not doing anything important at work today, right?" The automatic "no, of course not" nearly escaped my lips. But something made me pause. I did have something important, a client meeting about a refugee family's asylum case that I'd been working on for weeks. It was one of the few files I'd managed to take on, one of the rare moments when my job felt meaningful. "Actually, I have a meeting at. Can't you reschedule? This is crucial, Em. The Anderson deal is worth millions to the firm. Your dad would understand, it's family business." Your dad, not my father-in-law, not Mr. Hendricks. The casual possessiveness of it struck me suddenly. Marcus had a way of making everything about him seem like it was about us, making his priorities into our priorities. "Marcus, this family has been waiting. And they can wait another day. I really need you on this, babe, please." The please should have softened it, but it didn't. It was a please that wasn't really asking. It was a please that assumed compliance. "Fine," I heard myself say, "I'll do it. You're the best, love you." He hung up before I could respond. I stared at the phone, feeling something cold settle in my chest. "Let me guess," Lily said, "he needs something." "It's fine, it's just work stuff." "Emma." Lily reached across the table and took my hand. "Remember when we were kids and you made me promise to tell you if you ever started losing yourself? Well, I'm telling you, you're disappearing and I'm scared I'm going to lose my best friend to a life she never wanted." Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them back. I don't know how to be anyone else anymore. Then maybe it's time to remember. The district courthouse was packed, as it always was on Monday afternoons. I wove through the crowd, Marcus's precious contracts clutched in my designer handbag, feeling like a delivery person rather than an attorney. I was so focused on navigating the crowd that I didn't see him until I literally crashed into him. Papers exploded into the air like confetti, my bag went flying, and I found myself stumbling backward, only to be caught by strong hands that steadied me before I could fall. "Whoa, easy there," a voice said, and I looked up into the warmest brown eyes I'd ever seen. The man was probably in his early 30s, with dark hair that was slightly too long, falling across his forehead in a way that suggested he couldn't be bothered with regular haircuts. He wore jeans and a worn leather jacket over a simple white t-shirt, completely inappropriate for the courthouse, completely perfect on him. "I'm so sorry," I stammered, immediately dropping to help gather the scattered papers. I wasn't watching where I was going. "Neither was I," he admitted with a sheepish smile. "I was too busy trying to figure out which courtroom I'm supposed to be in. This place is a maze." As we knelt on the floor, collecting papers together, I noticed his documents were handwritten notes, sketches, and what looked like poetry scribbled in margins. So different from the typed, perfectly formatted legal documents I was used to. "Are you an artist?" I asked without thinking. He looked surprised. "How did you know?" "Your papers, they're full of drawings and, is that a sonnet?" His smile widened, transforming his face from handsome to absolutely captivating. "Guilty, I'm a photographer actually. The poetry is just something I do when I can't capture what I'm seeing with a camera. I'm Lucas, by the way, Lucas Chen." "Emma," I replied, realizing I was smiling more genuinely than I had in weeks. "Emma Sullivan." "Well, Emma Sullivan, what brings you to this temple of bureaucracy?" He handed me the last of my papers and our fingers brushed. A jolt of electricity ran through me at the contact, surprising in its intensity. "Just dropping off some contracts," I said, quickly pulling my hand back. "You?" "Trying to get a permit for a photography exhibition. I want to do a show about unseen communities, refugees, homeless veterans, people who are invisible in plain sight. But apparently there's a lot of red tape involved in getting approval to use certain public spaces." Something in my chest constricted. This stranger was literally trying to help the same communities I'd once dreamed of serving. "That sounds amazing. What inspired it?" Lucas's expression grew more serious, more passionate. "I think we're so busy looking at our phones, at our carefully curated lives, that we've forgot how to see the real people around us. Everyone is pretending to be okay, pretending to have it all together. But if you really look, really pay attention, you can see the truth underneath. That's what I want to capture." I felt like he could see right through me, through the designer clothes and perfect makeup, to the woman underneath who was drowning in her own pretending. That's beautiful," I said quietly. "You get it," he said, and there was something in his voice, recognition, maybe, or connection. "Most people think I'm crazy for giving up a job in tech to take pictures." "You had a job in tech?" "Software engineer at one of the big companies, 6 figures, stock options, the whole package, but I was miserable, so I quit, moved into a tiny apartment and started actually living instead of just existing." He studied me curiously. "You look like you understand that feeling." "What feeling?" "The difference between existing and living." The words hit me like a revelation because he was right. I was existing, going through the motions, checking boxes, following the script. But was I actually living? "I should go," I said abruptly, suddenly frightened by how much this stranger seemed to understand. "I have to deliver these and get back to work." "Right, of course." Lucas stood and offered me his hand to help me up. When I took it, that same electric connection sparked between us. "It was nice crashing into you, Emma Sullivan." "Likewise, Lucas Chen." I walked away, but I could feel his eyes on me. At the last moment I glanced back. He was still standing there, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read, sad maybe, or knowing. He raised his hand in a small wave, and then I turned the corner and he was gone. But the feeling he'd awakened in me wasn't. It hummed under my skin all through the rest of the day, a frequency I'd forgotten existed. Marcus's parents lived in a mansion in the suburbs, all white columns and manicured lawns, looking exactly like the kind of house that valued appearances over authenticity. I sat in the passenger seat of Marcus's BMW, wearing the blue dress as instructed, feeling like I was being driven to my own execution. "Remember," Marcus said as we pulled up the circular driveway, "my father wants to talk to you about making partner. This is a big opportunity, Em. Play your cards right." "Play my cards right?" I repeated. "Marcus, I've worked at the firm for 3 years. Shouldn't partnership be based on merit?" He sighed, that particular sigh he used when he thought I was being naive. "Everything is based on relationships, Emma. You know that. My father likes you, but he needs to see that you're committed to the firm long term, to the family." To the family, as if marrying Marcus made me property of Hendricks and Associates. The dinner was exactly as painful as I'd anticipated. Margaret Hendricks held court at the head of the table, her platinum hair perfectly coiffed, her critique of the meal thinly veiled as compliments to the chef. "The salmon is quite good," she said, which somehow sounded like an insult, though perhaps a touch overdone. "It's perfect, Mother," Marcus said dutifully. "And Emma, dear, you look lovely in blue, though you might consider a facial before the engagement party. You look a bit tired." I smiled through gritted teeth. "I'll make an appointment." Robert Hendricks, Marcus's father, cleared his throat, his signal that he was about to make a pronouncement. Emma, Marcus tells me you've been taking on some pro bono cases. Just one, I said carefully. The Ahmadi family, they're refugees from Afghanistan and their asylum case is complicated. I've been helping in my spare time. Admirable, Robert said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. However, I wonder if your time might be better spent on billable work. Pro bono doesn't help the bottom line. It helps people who desperately need legal representation and can't afford it, I said, surprised by the edge in my own voice. Robert's eyebrows rose. Marcus shot me a warning look. Of course, Robert continued smoothly, and we do support such work in moderation, but as you move toward partnership, Emma, you'll need to demonstrate that the firm's interests are your priority. The firm's interests are people, I heard myself say. That's what law is supposed to be about: justice, helping people who can't help themselves. The silence that fell over the table was deafening. Margaret looked scandalized. Robert's expression was unreadable, and Marcus looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Emma is just passionate about her work, Marcus said quickly. It's one of the things I love about her, but she understands that partnership requires certain commitments. Does she? Robert asked, his eyes on me. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain that somewhere along the way I'd forgotten why I became a lawyer in the first place. That I'd spent 3 years working on mergers and acquisitions and contracts when what I really wanted was to do work that mattered. But the words stuck in my throat, trapped behind years of people-pleasing and playing the role expected of me. Yes, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper, I understand. Margaret smiled satisfied. Good. Now about the wedding. The rest of the dinner was a blur of discussions about flower arrangements, guest lists, and whether the reception should be black tie or formal. Marcus and his mother did most of the talking while I sat there, feeling like I was listening to plans for someone else's wedding. In the car ride home, Marcus was furious. What the hell was that? He demanded the moment we pulled out of the driveway. What was what? That little performance at dinner, challenging my father, making me look bad. I wasn't trying to make you look bad, Marcus. I was just expressing an opinion about my own work. Your work is whatever the firm needs it to be, he snapped. My father is offering you partnership, Emma. Do you have any idea how many people would kill for that opportunity, and you're going to throw it away for some refugee case that probably won't even win? Something in me snapped. That refugee case is a family, Marcus. A mother and her 3 children who fled the Taliban. They're real people with real lives, and yes, helping them matters more to me than your father's bottom line. Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. You're being emotional. I'm being human. You're being impractical. This isn't college anymore, Emma. You can't save the world. You need to focus on building our future. What if I don't want this future? The words hung in the air between us, shocking in their honesty. Marcus pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face me, his expression a mixture of anger and disbelief. What are you talking about? Now that I'd started, I didn't know how to continue. Don't you ever wonder if we're living the life we actually want, or are we just doing what's expected? What's expected? Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. Emma, I proposed to you because I love you, because I want to build a life with you. How is that about expectations? But whose life? I asked quietly. Because it feels like your life, Marcus, your apartment, your job, your parents' expectations, your wedding. Where am I in all of this? You're right beside me, he said, but his voice was uncertain now. You're my partner. Am I, or am I just an accessory to the life you already had planned? Marcus stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before: doubt. Not about me, but about us. Maybe he'd been feeling it too, this distance between who we were and who we were pretending to be. Are you having second thoughts about the wedding? He asked finally. The honest answer should have been yes. But 3 years of being agreeable, of smoothing things over, of avoiding conflict made me say, I'm just stressed. The wedding, work, everything. I'm sorry I snapped at your father. It was a lie and we both knew it, but Marcus accepted it because it was easier than facing the truth. It's okay, he said, pulling back onto the road. Let's just forget about it. You need to relax. Maybe we should go away for a weekend before the engagement party. Maybe, I agreed, but I was looking out the window, watching the city lights blur past, feeling further away from myself than ever before. The next morning, I woke up to find Marcus already gone. He'd left a note on the kitchen counter: early meeting, lunch at noon, love you. I should have felt relieved by the peace and quiet, but instead I felt hollow. I made coffee and sat at the breakfast bar, staring at my phone. Against my better judgment, I found myself Googling Lucas Chen photographer. His website loaded and I gasped. The images were stunning, raw, emotional, beautiful. Faces of homeless veterans, their eyes holding stories of service and sacrifice. Refugee children playing in makeshift camps, their joy transcendent despite their circumstances. Elderly people in nursing homes, forgotten by the world but not by his camera. Each photograph captured what Lucas had talked about: the truth beneath the surface, the humanity we overlook. I clicked on his bio. He'd graduated from Stanford with a degree in computer science, worked at a major tech company for 5 years, then quit everything to pursue photography. The bio described his mission: to make visible the invisible, to give voice to the voiceless, to remind us all that behind every face is a story worth telling. There was an email link. Before I could second guess myself, I clicked it and started typing. Dear Lucas asterisk. We met yesterday at the courthouse. Literally, I crashed into you. I looked up your work and I had to tell you that it's extraordinary. What you're doing matters. It really, truly matters. I've been thinking about what you said about existing versus living, and I can't stop wondering which one I've been doing. Is it possible to wake up one day and realize you've been sleepwalking through your own life? I don't know why I'm telling you this, you're a stranger, but somehow in 5 minutes you saw something in me that I thought I'd successfully hidden from everyone. Thank you for that, even if it's terrifying. Emma. I stared at the message for a full minute before hitting send. The moment I did, panic flooded through me. What was I doing? I was engaged. I was emailing a strange man I'd met for 5 minutes. This was inappropriate. This was... My phone buzzed, an email notification. Dear Emma asterisk. I'm glad you crashed into me too. To answer your question, yes, it's absolutely possible to wake up and realize you've been sleepwalking. In fact, I think most people do it at some point. The real question is what you do after you wake up. I'd like to show you something. My exhibition permit got approved thanks to accidentally meeting a sympathetic clerk after our collision. The show opens Friday night at the Warehouse Gallery downtown. Would you come? I think you might find it relevant. No pressure, just an invitation to see the world through a different lens. Lucas. P.S. You weren't hiding it as well as you thought. Sadness recognizes sadness, so does hope. I read the email 3 times. Every rational part of my brain screamed that I should delete it, block his email, forget this ever happened. But something else, some deeper part of me that I'd been ignoring for years, was saying something different. It was saying asterisk yes. The week passed in a fog of wedding preparations and work stress. Marcus was consumed with a major case, barely coming home before midnight. I threw myself into the Ahmadi family's asylum application, working late hours, grateful for the distraction. But underneath everything, humming like a frequency only I could hear, was the awareness of Friday night approaching. I told myself I wasn't going to the exhibition. I told myself that I'd forgotten about it, about Lucas, about that moment in the courthouse when something inside me had recognized something in him. I told myself a lot of lies that week. On Friday evening, Marcus texted that he had to work late again. The engagement party was tomorrow and he still had depositions to review. I stood in our empty apartment looking at my reflection in the full-length mirror. Who was this woman in the designer dress and expensive jewelry? When had I become her? And more importantly, did I want to stay her? Before I could talk myself out of it, I changed into jeans and a simple sweater, grabbed my coat and headed out the door. The Warehouse Gallery was in the Arts District, a part of the city I never visited anymore. It used to be my favorite neighborhood, full of coffee shops and bookstores and galleries, but Marcus found it grungy. Now, walking through the converted industrial buildings, I felt something in my chest loosen, like I could finally breathe properly. The gallery was packed. People crowded around the photographs, their faces rapt, emotional. I wove through the crowd and then I saw them, Lucas's photographs, larger than life, impossible to ignore. They were heartbreaking, beautiful, true. A series of portraits showed refugees, each one holding an object from their homeland. An elderly Syrian man clutched a photograph of his destroyed home. An Afghan woman held her daughter's school uniform, tears streaming down her face. A young boy from Somalia carried a soccer ball, the only toy he'd managed to bring with him. The captions were minimal, just first names and simple quotes, but the images said everything. "You came." I turned to find Lucas standing behind me, wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt, his hair still artfully disheveled. His face lit up with genuine joy at seeing me, and I felt my heart skip in a way it hadn't in years. "I almost didn't," I admitted. "But you did, that's what matters." He gestured to the photographs surrounding us. "What do you think?" I looked back at the images, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "I think you're showing people what I used to believe in, what I gave up on." "Why did you give up on it?" "Because I grew up, because I got practical, because," I trailed off, unable to finish. "Because someone convinced you that passion and purpose were naive," Lucas suggested gently. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Come with me," Lucas said, offering his hand. "I want to show you something." I shouldn't have taken his hand. I was engaged. This was wrong, but my hand found his anyway, and the connection between us felt inevitable, like gravity. He led me to a smaller room at the back of the gallery. The walls here held different photographs, candid shots of people in cities, all of them looking down at their phones, isolated even in crowds. The images were haunting in their loneliness. "This is the other half of the exhibition," Lucas explained. "I call it the ones we don't see." All of these people are invisible because we're too busy looking at screens, at curated versions of life, to see what's real. "Is that how you see the world?" I asked, "divided between the real and the fake?" "I see the world as full of people pretending to be something they're not because they're afraid of what will happen if they're honest." He turned to face me fully. "You're in one of these photographs, Emma." My heart stopped. "What?" He walked to an image near the corner and pointed. There I was, walking down a street dressed in my work clothes, staring at my phone. My face was completely blank, empty of any emotion or presence. I looked like a ghost. "I take photographs all over the city," Lucas explained. "I captured this 3 weeks ago, before we even met, and when I saw you at the courthouse I recognized you, but you were different that day. There was something in your eyes, something real and raw. That's when I knew." "Knew what?" "That you were waking up." I stared at the photograph of myself, this woman sleepwalking through her life, and something inside me cracked wide open. Tears spilled down my cheeks and I couldn't stop them. "I don't know how to be anything else," I whispered. "I don't know how to be the person I used to be." "Maybe you don't have to be her," Lucas said softly. "Maybe you just have to be honest about who you are now, what you actually want." "I'm engaged," I blurted out, the confession spilling from my lips like a desperate plea for him to give me a reason to run. Lucas didn't look surprised. "I know, I saw your ring at the courthouse." "Then why did you invite me here?" "Because unhappily engaged people need art too." His smile was sad. "Because I see you, Emma, the real you, and I think maybe no one has really seen you in a long time." He was right. God help me, he was right. Marcus loved me, but did he see me, or did he see the version of me he'd helped create, polished, professional, agreeable? "I should go," I said, but I didn't move. "Emma," Lucas took a step closer, and suddenly the space between us felt charged with possibility. "I'm not trying to complicate your life, I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know that there's another way to live, a way where you don't have to pretend, where passion and purpose aren't naive, where you can be messy and imperfect and still worthy of love." "You don't know me," I said, but my voice was shaking. "I know the version of you that you're trying to hide. I know the woman who crashed into me and apologized like it was a crime to take up space. I know the person who looked at my photographs like they were breaking her heart because they reminded her of dreams she gave up. I know the Emma who's drowning in a life that doesn't fit." "Stop," I whispered. "Why?" "Because you're making me want things I can't have. Can't or won't." The question hung between us, unanswerable, because the truth was I could have a different life. I could make different choices. But choosing differently would mean admitting that the last 3 years had been a mistake. It would mean hurting Marcus, disappointing his family, walking away from security and stability. It would mean being brave. I have to go, I said again, and this time I forced myself to move toward the door. Emma, wait, Lucas caught up to me, pressing something into my hand. This is my card, my personal number is on the back. If you ever need someone to talk to, someone who sees you, I'm here. I clutched the card without looking at it and fled into the night. The next evening, our loft was transformed into an elegant party venue. White flowers overflowed from every surface. Soft jazz played through hidden speakers. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Marcus's mother had outdone herself. I stood in our bedroom, zipping up the dress Marcus had chosen, a formal ivory sheath that was sophisticated and appropriate and completely not me. My engagement ring caught the light, the diamond massive and ostentatious. When Marcus had proposed, I'd thought it was beautiful. Now it felt like a weight. You look perfect, Marcus said from the doorway. He wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Everyone is going to be so impressed. Not you look beautiful, not I'm lucky to have you, but everyone is going to be impressed. As if I was another accessory, another item to check off his list of appropriate life achievements. Marcus, I said, turning to face him, can we talk for a minute? He checked his watch. Can it wait? People are starting to arrive. It's important. Something in my voice must have alarmed him because he stepped into the room and closed the door. What's wrong? Do you love me? He blinked, clearly not expecting the question. Of course I love you. What kind of question is that? Do you love me? I repeated. Or do you love the idea of me, the version of me that fits into your life? Emma, what is this about? Are you nervous about the party? I'm nervous about spending the rest of my life being someone I'm not. The words erupted from me with a force that shocked us both. Marcus took a step back, his face a mixture of confusion and anger. Someone you're not? Emma, you're a successful attorney about to make partner at a prestigious firm. You're engaged to someone who loves and supports you. You have a beautiful home, financial security, a bright future. How is that not who you are? Because none of those things are choices I made. I was crying now, makeup be damned. They're things that happened to me, things I went along with because it was easier than figuring out what I actually wanted. So what do you want? Marcus demanded. To throw away everything we've built, to work at some nonprofit making nothing while you try to save the world. Maybe, I don't know, but I want the chance to figure it out instead of just following the life you've mapped out for us. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, a rare show of frustration. This is insane. We have 40 people about to arrive at our engagement party and you're having some kind of quarter-life crisis. This isn't a crisis, Marcus. This is me finally being honest. About what? About the fact that I don't know if I want to marry you. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus stared at me like I'd slapped him. In the living room beyond our door, I could hear voices, laughter, the sounds of our party beginning without us. You don't mean that, Marcus said finally, his voice dangerously quiet. I don't know what I mean, I admitted, but I know that I can't keep pretending everything is perfect when I feel like I'm suffocating. Suffocating, Marcus repeated, his face hardening. I've given you everything, Emma, everything you could possibly want, and you feel like you're suffocating. You've given me everything you think I should want, I said quietly, but you never asked what I actually wanted. A knock at the door interrupted us. Margaret's voice came through, sharp and impatient. Marcus, Emma, everyone's asking for you. Marcus looked at me, his jaw tight. We're going out there, we're going to smile and thank everyone for coming, and then, after everyone leaves, we're going to figure this out. Can you do that? It wasn't really a question, it was a command dressed up as concern. I should have said no. I should have opened that door and told everyone the truth, that I was drowning, that I'd lost myself, that this engagement was a beautiful mistake. But years of being agreeable, of smoothing things over, of playing the role expected of me made me nod. Good, Marcus said, his relief visible. Everything is going to be fine, Em, you're just stressed, we'll get through this. He kissed my forehead and opened the door, his smile already in place. I followed him out into the party, feeling like I was walking to my own funeral. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in pretending. I smiled until my face hurt. I accepted congratulations and well wishes. I laughed at jokes and made small talk about wedding plans. I was the perfect fiancé, the perfect future daughter-in-law, the perfect fraud. Lily arrived late, slipping through the crowd to find me cornered by a group of Marcus's colleagues' wives who were discussing flower arrangements with terrifying intensity. Emma, sorry to interrupt, Lily said, sliding her arm through mine. I need to borrow the bride for just a moment. She practically dragged me into the bathroom and locked the door behind us. Okay, what's wrong? She demanded. And don't tell me nothing because you look like you're about to shatter into a million pieces. The concern in her voice, the genuine care from someone who actually knew me, broke something loose. I told her everything, the fight with Marcus, the doubts I'd been having, the exhibition, Lucas. When I finished, Lily was quiet for a long moment, then she said, "Do you want to marry him?" "I don't know." "Emma, that's not an I don't know question, that's a yes or no question. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with Marcus?" "He's a good man, he loves me, we have a life together." "That's not what I asked." Lily took my hands in hers. "Forget about what's practical, forget about what everyone expects, forget about the deposits and the invitations and his parents, just you in your heart, do you want to marry Marcus?" I opened my mouth to say yes, the word should have come easily, but it stuck in my throat, refusing to be spoken. "No," I whispered finally, "no, I don't." Saying it out loud felt like jumping off a cliff, terrifying and liberating at the same time. "Then you know what you have to do," Lily said gently. "I can't do it tonight, not in front of all these people." "I'm not saying you have to, but Emma, you can't marry someone you don't want to marry, that's not fair to either of you." Before I could respond, someone knocked on the bathroom door. "Emma, are you in there?" It was Marcus's mother. I looked at Lily in panic. She squeezed my hand. "You've got this, just get through tonight, tomorrow you can start being honest." I unlocked the door to find Margaret looking irritated. "There you are, Marcus is about to make the toast." The toast, of course, I'd forgotten about the toast. Back in the living room, Marcus stood in the center of the crowd, champagne glass raised. He looked confident, happy, completely oblivious to the fact that his fiancée had just admitted she didn't want to marry him. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Marcus began. "Emma and I are so grateful to be surrounded by the people we love most as we celebrate the beginning of our life together." I stood next to him, champagne glass in hand, feeling like I was watching this happen to someone else. "I knew Emma was special from the moment I met her," Marcus continued. "She was smart, beautiful, driven, everything I wanted in a partner, and over these past 3 years she's become everything I need. She supported my career, fit seamlessly into my life, and made me a better man." Fit seamlessly into my life, the phrase caught in my mind like a thorn, not "we built a life together," but fit into my life. "So here's to Emma," Marcus raised his glass higher. "To the woman who has made all my dreams come true, to my future wife, my partner, my best friend, to forever." "To forever," the crowd echoed, glasses clinking. I brought the champagne to my lips but couldn't drink. Forever, the word felt like a prison sentence. After the toast, the party continued. People congratulated us. Marcus's father made a speech about family and legacy. Margaret showed everyone the wedding venue photos on her phone, and through it all, I felt increasingly disconnected, like I was floating above my own life, watching it happen to someone else. Around 11, people started to leave. I stood by the door, thanking guests, accepting hugs and air kisses, counting down the minutes until I could finally breathe. The last to leave were Marcus's parents. Margaret kissed both my cheeks. "That was a lovely party, dear, you looked beautiful." "Thank you for everything," I said automatically. After they left, Marcus closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling deeply. "That went well, don't you think?" I was already heading to the bedroom, unzipping the dress that felt like it was strangling me. "It was fine." Marcus followed me. "Fine, Emma, everyone loved it, my parents were thrilled, even the Hendersons said." "I don't care what the Hendersons said." The words exploded from me. I turned to face him, the dress half unzipped, tears streaming down my face. "I don't care about the party or your parents or any of this." Marcus's expression shifted from confusion to anger. So we're back to this. I thought you were just going to get through the party and then we'd talk rationally. I don't want to talk rationally, I want to scream, I want to cry. I want to be honest for once in my life instead of just going along with what everyone expects. Then be honest, Marcus shouted back. Tell me what this is really about. Is it the job? Is it the wedding? What? It's us, I yelled. It's this relationship where I've disappeared into being who you need me to be. It's the fact that in your toast tonight you talked about how I fit into your life, not about how we built a life together. That's what you're upset about, word choice in a toast. It's not about the words, Marcus, it's about what they mean. You don't see me as a partner, you see me as an accessory. Someone who supports your career, who looks good at your side, who doesn't cause problems. That's not fair. Isn't it? When was the last time you asked me what I wanted? When was the last time we did something I chose? When was the last time you supported one of my dreams instead of just expecting me to support yours? Marcus was quiet for a moment, then he said, voice low and dangerous, is there someone else? The question hung in the air. I could have lied, should have lied, but I was so tired of lying. I met someone, I admitted, but nothing happened, we just talked, but in one conversation he saw me, really saw me in a way you haven't in 3 years. Marcus's face went pale, then red. You met someone and you're telling me this now, at our engagement party. After our engagement party, and I'm not telling you because something happened, I'm telling you because it made me realize something is missing between us. What's missing? Marcus demanded. Love, because I love you, Emma, I've given you everything. You keep saying that, I interrupted. That you've given me everything, but you never asked if it's what I wanted. You decided we should move in together, you decided I should work for your father. You decided when to get engaged, what kind of wedding we'd have, what our life would look like. And I went along with all of it because I thought that's what love was, compromise, partnership, building a future. But I compromised everything and you compromised nothing. So this is my fault? Marcus asked incredulously. I'm the bad guy because I wanted to build a life with you, because I have ambition and goals and a plan. No, you're not the bad guy, I said, exhausted. But you're not the right guy, not for me, not anymore, maybe not ever. The words seemed to suck all the air from the room. Marcus stared at me and I watched as understanding, then hurt, then anger crossed his face. So what are you saying? He asked quietly. You want to call off the wedding? I'm saying I need time. I'm saying I need to figure out who I am outside of being your fiancé. I'm saying I can't marry you when I don't even recognize myself anymore. Time, Marcus repeated. You need time, Emma, the wedding is in 4 months, we have deposits, contracts, 200 people invited, you can't just put this on pause because you're having some kind of identity crisis. Then maybe we should cancel it. The silence that followed was absolute, I'd said it, the thing I'd been too scared to even think, and now that it was out there I couldn't take it back. Get out, Marcus said. What? Get out. If you're going to throw away everything we've built, if you're going to humiliate me and my family, then I don't want you here. Pack a bag and get out. Marcus. Now Emma, get the fuck out of my apartment. His apartment, not our apartment. In that moment I realized he was right, it had never been ours, it had always been his life that I was visiting. I packed a bag through tears, throwing in clothes and toiletries without thinking. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching me with an expression I couldn't read, hurt, anger, maybe even relief that the pretending was over. When I walked past him toward the door, he said quietly, I really did love you. I know, I said, but you loved who you wanted me to be, not who I actually am. And then I left, closing the door on 3 years of my life. I stood outside the building with my hastily packed bag, mascara streaking down my face, and pulled out my phone. It was almost midnight, but I knew Lily would answer. She picked up on the second ring. Emma, what's wrong? I left him, I said, my voice breaking. I told him I couldn't marry him and he kicked me out. Can I stay with you? I'm already putting sheets on the couch, Lily said. Come over, take an Uber, text me when you're close. 20 minutes later, I was sitting on Lily's worn couch in her tiny studio apartment, wrapped in one of her oversized hoodies, drinking the tea she'd made me. Her apartment was the opposite of Marcus's loft, cluttered with art supplies, books stacked everywhere, plants in various states of health. It was messy and chaotic and absolutely perfect. Tell me everything, Lily said, settling next to me. So I did. The fight before the party, The toast, the realization that I couldn't keep pretending, the conversation after everyone left, Marcus kicking me out. I destroyed everything, I said when I finished. 3 years gone. The wedding, the job, the life I'd built, all of it gone. Was it a life you wanted to keep? Lily asked gently. I don't know, that's the problem. I don't know what I want. I just know I couldn't keep living the way I was. Then you did the right thing, Lily said firmly. Emma, I watched you disappear into that relationship. You stopped painting. You stopped writing. You stopped being spontaneous and messy and passionate. You became this polished, perfect version of yourself that made everyone else comfortable but made you miserable. But what if I made a mistake? What if I threw away something good because I'm being selfish and impulsive? Leaving someone who doesn't see you isn't selfish, it's survival. I curled deeper into the couch. What am I going to do, Lil? I can't stay at the apartment, I can't work at the firm, my entire life was tangled up with his. Then you build a new life, Lily said simply, the life you actually want. I don't even know where to start. Start with tonight, you're safe, you're here, you're away from a situation that was killing you slowly. Tomorrow we figure out the next step, and the day after that, the next step after that. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. I looked at my best friend, her wild hair, her paint-stained clothes, her tiny apartment that she loved more than any mansion. She had so little in terms of material things, but she was happier than anyone I knew. How did you do it? I asked. How did you choose to follow your passion even though it meant being broke and struggling? Because being broke and doing what I love is better than being comfortable and dying inside, Lily said. Emma, you think I don't have doubts? I have doubts all the time, but at least they're my doubts about my choices for my life, not someone else's script I'm following. I'm scared, I admitted. Good, that means you're alive, that means you're finally feeling something real. We stayed up talking until nearly 3 in the morning. Lily told me about her latest art commission. I told her about the Ahmadi family and how their case was one of the few things at work that made me feel alive. We talked about childhood dreams and adult realities and everything in between. Finally, Lily said, get some sleep. Tomorrow we start figuring out the rest of your life. As I lay on her couch, staring at the ceiling, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, terrified, yes, but also free. For the first time in 3 years, I had no idea what came next, and somehow that possibility felt less like a cliff and more like an open door. I woke to the smell of coffee and burning toast. Lily stood at her tiny stove, attempting to make breakfast while simultaneously sketching in a notebook. How do you burn toast? I asked groggily. It's a gift, Lily said cheerfully, scraping blackened bread into the trash. Coffee. I accepted the mug gratefully and checked my phone. 23 missed calls, 15 texts, all from Marcus or his mother. I turned the phone face down without reading them. You're going to have to deal with that eventually, Lily observed. I know, just not yet. Lily's phone rang, she glanced at it and made a face. It's my mom, she probably heard. How would she have heard? Marcus's mother is in her book club, Rich People Gossip Travels at the Speed of Light. She answered the phone. Hi, Mom. Yes, I know. Yes, she's here. No, I won't tell you that because it's none of your business. Mom, I have to go. I'll call you later. She hung up and looked at me apologetically. She wants to know if you're having a breakdown. Am I? I prefer to think of it as a breakthrough, Lily said, but we should probably address the practical stuff. Are you going to work today? The thought of walking into Hendricks and Associates, facing Marcus's father dealing with the whispers and stares made my stomach turn. I need to resign. Do you want to do it in person or just send an email? Email feels cowardly. Cowardly is staying in a situation that's destroying you because you're worried about being polite, Lily countered. Emma, you don't owe them anything, they paid you for your work, you did your work, that's the extent of the obligation. She was right, still it took me an hour to write the email. I drafted and deleted it 6 times before finally settling on. Mr. Hendricks asterisk. I am writing to inform you of my resignation from Hendricks and Associates, effective immediately. I apologize for the short notice, but circumstances have changed in a way that makes it impossible for me to continue in my current position. I will ensure all my cases are properly documented and will make myself available for the next 2 weeks to facilitate the transition of my files to other attorneys. Thank you for the opportunity to work with the firm. Best regards, Emma Sullivan. My finger hovered over the send button. Once I pressed it, there was no going back. This was real. I was really throwing away my career, my financial security, everything I'd worked toward for 3 years. I pressed send. Done, I said, setting the phone down with shaking hands. How does it feel? Lily asked. Terrifying, liberating, like I might throw up. That's the feeling of taking control of your own life, Lily said. Now what? Now I need to find an apartment and a job and figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life. One thing at a time. Let's start with the apartment. Do you have money saved? I did, actually, more than Marcus knew about. I'd been putting away money from every paycheck into a separate account, some instinct for self-preservation making me maintain financial independence even while I was losing everything else. Yeah, enough for a few months' rent and security deposit. Good, so we'll start looking for places today. What kind of place do you want? The question stumped me. What kind of place did I want? I'd lived in dorms in college, then moved straight into Marcus's loft. I'd never actually chosen my own home. I don't know, I admitted. Something small, affordable, somewhere I can breathe. Perfect, I know just the neighborhood. Lily dragged me to a neighborhood I'd never explored, a mix of old row houses and new developments, filled with coffee shops, bookstores, and small galleries. It was vibrant and diverse and everything Marcus would have called not the right area. I loved it immediately. The third apartment we looked at was a tiny one-bedroom on the second floor of a converted brownstone. It had hardwood floors, big windows that let in afternoon light, and a small balcony overlooking a community garden. The walls were blank, waiting to be filled. The space was empty, full of possibility. I'll take it, I told the landlord before even seeing the bedroom. By that evening, I'd signed the lease and arranged for movers to pick up my things from Marcus's apartment. Lily helped me set up the basics: a mattress, a small table, a few dishes. We ordered pizza and sat on the floor of my new living room, the space echoing with emptiness and potential. To new beginnings, Lily said, raising her beer. To new beginnings, I echoed, clinking my bottle against hers. My phone buzzed, another text from Marcus. Against my better judgment, I opened it. We need to talk, please call me. I showed it to Lily. Should I? Do you want to? I don't know, maybe I owe him that much. We were together for 3 years. You don't owe him anything, but if you need closure, then call him. Just remember, you get to set the boundaries. You get to decide what you're willing to discuss. I stepped onto the small balcony and called him. He answered immediately. Emma, thank you for calling. Hi, Marcus. Silence stretched between us, awkward and painful. I got your resignation email, he said finally. My father is not pleased. I'm sorry, but I couldn't stay at the firm. It wouldn't be appropriate. Nothing about this situation is appropriate, Marcus said, and I could hear the bitterness in his voice. Emma, can we please talk about this in person? There has to be a way to work through this. Marcus, there's nothing to work through. I meant what I said. I can't marry you. Because of one bad night, because we had a fight, couples fight, Emma, it doesn't mean you throw away 3 years. It wasn't one bad night, it's been building for months, maybe longer. Then why didn't you say something? Why did you let me propose? Why did you let us plan a wedding if you were having doubts? It was a fair question, one I'd been asking myself. Because I thought I was supposed to want this, I said quietly. Because everyone told me how lucky I was, because you're a good man and you loved me, and I thought that should be enough. But it wasn't. No, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I didn't realize it sooner. I'm sorry I hurt you. But Marcus, we weren't right for each other. You wanted someone who would fit into your life, and I needed someone who would build a life with me. Those are different things. What about the wedding? He asked. There are deposits, contracts, people who have made plans. I'll take care of my half of the cancellations. I'll pay whatever penalties I'm responsible for. But Marcus, we can't get married just because it's inconvenient to cancel. More silence, then quietly, was there really someone else? No, there was someone who made me realize I wasn't happy, but nothing happened, I promise you that. It doesn't feel like it matters, Marcus said. You're still leaving. I am. Then I guess there's nothing left to say. I guess not. I'm sorry, Marcus, I really am. Me too. He hung up. I stood on the balcony looking out at the city, feeling the weight of the decision I'd made settling on my shoulders. It was the right choice, I knew that, but right choices could still hurt. That night, alone in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes and sleeping on a mattress on the floor, I felt the full weight of what I'd done crash down on me. I'd walked away from everything: security, comfort, a planned future. I had no job, no plan, no idea what came next. I should have felt terrified. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. My phone buzzed with a new email. Lucas Chen. Emma asterisk. I heard through the art community that you left your firm. I hope everything is okay. No pressure to respond, I just wanted you to know that if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Also, my offer still stands. There's a coffee shop next to my studio that makes the best chai in the city. If you ever need a place to think or just to exist without judgment, you're always welcome. L. I stared at the email for a long time, then I wrote back. Lucas asterisk. I left more than the firm. I left my fiancé, my apartment, my entire life. I don't know why I'm telling you this except that you seem to be the person who sees me when I feel invisible. I think I need to figure out who I am before I can be anyone to anyone else. But thank you for seeing me, for the invitation, for reminding me that there's a different way to live. E asterisk. His response came within minutes. That's exactly what you should do. Figure out who you are, what you want, what makes you feel alive. And when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. In the meantime, here's my advice. Do something that scares you, something the old Emma would never have done, not for anyone else, just for you. What would that be? I sat with the question, really sat with it. What would scare me? What would the version of myself I'd been for the past 3 years never do? And then I knew. I opened my laptop and navigated to the website for Legal Aid for Refugees, the nonprofit I'd dreamed of working for before I'd gotten practical. Before I'd convinced myself that passion was naive and stability was everything. They had an opening for an attorney. The salary was less than half what I'd been making at Hendricks and Associates. The work would be intense, emotionally draining, probably heartbreaking. It was exactly what I wanted. I sent my resume before I could second-guess myself. Then I opened a blank document and started writing. Not a legal brief, not a professional email, just words flowing from somewhere deep inside me that I'd kept locked away for years. I wrote about feeling lost, about pretending, about the moment in the courthouse when a stranger with a camera had seen the real me hiding beneath the polish. I wrote until my fingers cramped and the sun started to rise. And when I finally stopped, exhausted and emotionally wrung out, I looked at what I'd created. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't polished, but it was true. It was me. The next few weeks passed in a blur of change. I furnished my apartment piece by piece, choosing things I actually liked: colorful pillows, mismatched dishes, plants I'd probably kill but wanted to try to keep alive anyway. Lily helped me paint one wall a deep teal that Marcus would have hated and I absolutely loved. Legal Aid for Refugees called me in for an interview. The director, a woman named Sarah Chen with kind eyes and gray-streaked hair, asked me why I wanted to work there. Because I became a lawyer to help people, I said honestly. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that. I got caught up in billable hours and corporate cases and making partner, but this work, helping people who have lost everything build new lives here, this matters. This is what I should have been doing all along. You're overqualified, Sarah said, and we can only pay a fraction of what you're worth. I'm not worth anything if I'm not doing work that matters to me. She smiled. When can you start? I started the following Monday. My first case was the Ahmadi family, the asylum case I'd been working on at the firm. Sarah had reached out to them and they'd requested me specifically as their attorney. When Mrs. Ahmadi saw me in our new office, she hugged me tightly and said in halting English, "You came back to us." I never really left, I said, hugging her back. The work was everything I'd expected: intense, emotionally exhausting, often heartbreaking. But it was also meaningful in a way my previous work had never been. Every brief I filed, every case I argued, every family I helped wasn't just about winning. It was about giving people hope, dignity, a chance at a new life. I was good at it, more than good, I was passionate about it. And for the first time in years, I went home at the end of each day feeling tired but fulfilled, drained but purposeful. Lily watched me transform with undisguised pride. "You're getting yourself back," she said one night over dinner at my apartment. "The real you." "I'm becoming someone new," I corrected. "A version of me that's honest about what I want." Even better. I'd been avoiding social media, not ready to deal with the questions and comments about my broken engagement. But one night, curiosity got the better of me. I opened Instagram to find my feed full of speculation, gossip, and judgment. Marcus's friends posting vague quotes about betrayal and loyalty. Wedding vendors asking what happened. Acquaintances sending concerned messages that felt more like fishing for gossip. I should have felt ashamed, should have felt guilty, but instead I felt nothing. These people, these relationships that had seemed so important, they were all surface level. None of them actually knew me, none of them had seen me drowning. I deleted the app and felt lighter for it. 6 weeks after leaving Marcus, I was working late on a particularly complex asylum case when my email pinged. Lucas Chen. Emma asterisk. "I hope this isn't overstepping, but I wanted to invite you to something. I'm teaching a photography workshop this weekend for refugees and recent immigrants, helping them document their stories through images. We need volunteers to help with setup and to assist participants who don't speak English fluently. I thought of you, no pressure, but if you're interested, we'd love to have you. Lucas." I stared at the email, my heart racing. I hadn't seen Lucas since that night at the gallery. Part of me had been avoiding him, worried about what it meant that a stranger had seen through me so clearly, worried about the connection I'd felt, about whether it was real or just a symptom of my unhappiness with Marcus. But I was different now, stronger, more myself. Maybe I was ready. Lucas asterisk. "I'd love to help. What time should I be there?" Emma. Saturday morning found me at a community center in the neighborhood I'd once served through legal aid. Lucas stood outside, directing volunteers, his camera hanging around his neck. He looked up as I approached, and his face broke into a genuine smile that made my stomach flip. "You came," he said. I said I would. "People say a lot of things." He studied me for a moment. "You look different, good different." "I feel different," I admitted. "A lot has changed." "So I heard, the art world is small and gossipy, something about leaving your firm and your fiancé. That about covers it. How are you doing?" It was a simple question, but the way he asked it, like he genuinely wanted to know, like my answer mattered, made me pause. "I'm figuring it out," I said honestly. "Some days are harder than others, but I'm working at legal aid now, doing immigration law, actually helping the communities you photograph." Lucas's smile widened. "That's amazing, Emma. How does it feel?" "Terrifying, fulfilling, like I'm finally doing what I was meant to do. See, I told you there was another way to live." The workshop was incredible. Lucas worked with each participant individually, helping them capture their stories through images. I watched him photograph a Syrian woman as she held up a picture of her destroyed home, tears streaming down her face. He captured an elderly Vietnamese man's hands as he repaired a watch, his craft a connection to the homeland he left decades ago. He documented a group of children playing soccer with a deflated ball, their joy transcendent despite their circumstances. But more than capturing images, Lucas made each person feel seen. He asked questions, listened to stories, treated every person with dignity and respect. He wasn't just documenting their lives, he was honoring them. During a break, I found him reviewing photos on his camera. "You're good at this," I said, "not just the photography, the connection, making people feel valued." "Everyone has a story worth telling," Lucas said simply. "Most people just need someone to actually listen." "Is that what you did for me at the courthouse?" I saw someone who was drowning and pretending she was swimming, and I wanted her to know that it was okay to stop pretending. "It nearly destroyed my life," I said, but I was smiling. "Did it, or did it destroy a life that was destroying you?" "When did you become a philosopher?" "Around the same time I quit my six-figure job to take pictures of strangers." He set down his camera and turned to face me fully. "Emma, I need to tell you something. That day at the courthouse I knew you were engaged. I saw your ring, but I gave you my card anyway because I could see you were lost, and I know what that feels like. You seemed pretty found to me." Now maybe, but 3 years ago I was exactly where you were. Successful job I hated, relationship that looked perfect on paper but felt empty. Life that everyone told me I should be grateful for, and one day I just couldn't do it anymore. I quit everything and started over. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, also the best. Do you regret it, leaving everything behind? Not for a second, do you? I thought about it, really thought about it. Did I regret leaving Marcus, the firm, the life I'd built? No, I said, surprised by the certainty in my voice. I regret waiting so long to do it. I regret wasting 3 years being someone I wasn't, but leaving, that was the best decision I've ever made. Good, Lucas said softly, because you deserve to live a life that's actually yours. We worked together the rest of the day, falling into an easy rhythm. Lucas photographed while I helped translate, assisted participants, made sure everyone felt comfortable. At the end, we stayed to clean up while the last families trickled out. Thank you for coming today, Lucas said as we stacked chairs. You were great with everyone. Thank you for inviting me. It felt good to help in a different way. Emma, he stopped what he was doing and looked at me. Would you like to get dinner, just as friends, no pressure? I know you're figuring things out and the last thing you need is complications, but I'd like to get to know you better, the real you. I should have said no. I should have told him I needed more time, more space, more healing. But standing there, looking at this man who had somehow seen me when I was invisible to myself, I realized something. I was tired of should. I'd like that, I said. Lucas took me to a tiny Ethiopian restaurant tucked away on a side street I'd never noticed before. The kind of place Marcus would have walked past without a second glance. Inside, it was warm and intimate, with mismatched tables, colorful artwork on the walls, and the rich smell of spices filling the air. I hope you like Ethiopian food, Lucas said as we settled into a corner table. I probably should have asked first. I've never had it, I admitted. Never, he looked delighted rather than surprised. Then you're in for an experience. The owner, Yadit, is from Addis Ababa. She's been feeding me since I moved to the neighborhood. Her story is incredible. She came here as a refugee 20 years ago with nothing, and now she owns this place and is putting 3 kids through college. The way he talked about her with such genuine admiration and warmth made my heart squeeze. Marcus had never talked about people this way. He talked about contacts, connections, people who could be useful. Yadit came to our table, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a warm smile. Lucas, you brought a friend. Yadit, this is Emma. Emma, this is Yadit, who makes the best Doro Wat in the entire country. He exaggerates, Yadit said, but she was beaming. But only a little. First time having Ethiopian. First time, I confirmed. Then I will bring you the combination platter. You will love it, trust me. After she left, Lucas said, you'll eat with your hands. We use injera, it's a sourdough flatbread, to scoop up the food. It's a communal way of eating, meant to be shared. When the food arrived, it was beautiful, colorful stews arranged on a large platter lined with injera. Lucas showed me how to tear off pieces of bread and use them to pick up the food. Our fingers brushed as we reached for the same dish, and that same electric connection sparked between us. So, Lucas said, tell me about Emma Sullivan, not the lawyer, not the ex-fiancée, just Emma, who are you? No one had asked me that in years, maybe ever. I don't know, I said honestly, I'm figuring that out. Okay, different question, what makes you happy, what makes you feel alive? I thought about it, really thought about it. Writing, I used to write all the time, stories, journal entries, terrible poetry. I haven't written anything personal in years, but I started again recently. It feels like coming home to a part of myself I'd forgotten existed. What do you write about? Everything, nothing. The way sunlight looks on my apartment floor in the morning, the woman who runs the corner store and always remembers my name, my clients' stories, the incredible bravery it takes to leave everything you know and start over in a strange country. I paused. Is that weird? It's beautiful, Lucas said softly. What else? Music, I used to play piano but I stopped. Marcus didn't want a piano in the apartment, it didn't fit the aesthetic. Do you want to play again? I don't even know if I remember how. Your fingers remember, Lucas said. Music is like that, it lives in your body, not just your mind. We talked for hours, the way people do when they're genuinely interested in each other. Lucas told me about growing up in a strict family where success meant medicine or law or business, anything except art. He talked about the day he quit his job, how terrified he'd been, how his parents had been devastated and disappointed. Do they understand now? I asked. My mom is coming around. She came to my last exhibition and actually cried. Said she didn't know I could see people so deeply. My dad still thinks I'm wasting my potential, but he stopped sending me job postings, so that's progress. At least you had the courage to do it, I said. I waited until I was drowning before I made a change. Emma, there's no timeline for figuring out your life. Some people know at 20 what makes them happy. Some people figure it out at 40. Some people never figure it out at all. You figured it out, that's what matters. What if I'm too late? What if I wasted the best years of my life being someone I'm not? Lucas reached across the table and took my hand. The gesture was gentle, not presumptuous. You're 28, you have so much life ahead of you, and here's what I know about wasted time: it's not wasted if you learn from it. You learned what you don't want, that's just as valuable as knowing what you do want. I looked down at our hands, his wrapped around mine, and felt something shift inside me. Not the desperate, drowning feeling I'd had with Marcus. Something quieter, steadier, like finding solid ground after years of treading water. Lucas, I said quietly, I'm not ready for this, for whatever this is. I just left someone. I'm still figuring out who I am. I know, he said, but he didn't let go of my hand. I'm not asking for anything, Emma. I'm just here, as a friend, as someone who understands what you're going through. If something more happens eventually, great. If not, that's okay too. I just want to know you, the real you. Why? I asked. Why do you care so much about someone you barely know? He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Because when I saw you at the courthouse, I saw myself 3 years ago. I saw someone suffocating in a life that looked perfect but felt wrong. And I remember how badly I wanted someone to see me, really see me, and tell me it was okay to choose differently. So that's what I'm doing for you, seeing you, telling you it's okay. Tears pricked at my eyes. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're brave enough to walk away from security. I know you care more about helping people than making money. I know you light up when you talk about your work. I know you've been pretending so long that you forgot what being real feels like. That's enough to know I want to know more. We stayed at the restaurant until Yadit gently told us she needed to close. Outside, the city was quiet, the streets empty except for the occasional car passing by. I'll walk you home, Lucas offered. You don't have to. I want to. We walked slowly in no hurry to end the evening. The October air was crisp, autumn leaves crunching under our feet. Lucas pointed out details I would have missed, the way the streetlights cast shadows that looked like abstract art, an elderly man sitting in a window reading by lamplight, the sound of music drifting from an upstairs apartment. You see the world differently than most people, I observed. I just pay attention, Lucas said. Most people are so busy rushing to the next thing that they miss what's right in front of them. They miss the beauty in ordinary moments. We reached my building too soon. I stood on the stoop, not quite ready to say goodbye. Thank you for tonight, I said, for dinner, for listening, for seeing me. Thank you for letting me, Lucas said. He hesitated, then said, Emma, I'm going to give you my number. Not because I expect you to call, but because I want you to know you can. If you need a friend, if you want to talk, if you just need someone to sit with you in silence, I'm here. No expectations, no pressure, just here. He pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back, then handed it to me. I looked down at it, his number, and below it, a simple message: you deserve to be seen. Good night, Emma Sullivan, he said softly. Good night, Lucas Chen. I watched him walk away, his hands in his pockets, his camera bag slung over his shoulder. At the corner, he turned back and waved. I waved back, then went inside, my heart feeling fuller than it had in years. The next few weeks were a strange mix of growth and grief. I threw myself into my work at Legal Aid, taking on more cases, working longer hours. The Ahmadi family's hearing was scheduled for early December, and I was determined to give them the best possible chance. But I was also grieving, not for Marcus. I didn't miss him, which told me everything I needed to know about our relationship. But I was grieving the time I'd lost, the version of myself I'd buried, the years I'd spent pretending. Lily noticed. You're doing that thing where you work yourself to death to avoid feeling things, she said one night when she came over with Thai food and found me surrounded by case files. I'm not avoiding anything, I'm just busy. Emma, you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to feel everything, the relief and the regret and the fear and the hope. You don't have to be strong all the time. She was right, I'd been so focused on moving forward that I hadn't let myself actually process what had happened. That night after Lily left, I let myself cry, really cry, for the years I'd lost, for the woman I'd been, for the relationship that had looked perfect but felt empty. And then when I was done crying, I wrote about all of it, the pretending, the awakening, the courage it took to walk away. I wrote until my hands cramped and my eyes burned. When I finally stopped, exhausted and emotionally raw, I looked at what I'd created. It was a mess, rambling, unpolished, probably terrible, but it was honest, it was real. On impulse, I emailed it to Lucas with a simple message. I wrote this tonight. I don't know why I'm sending it to you, maybe because you're the only person who might understand. His response came within an hour. Emma asterisk. This is extraordinary, raw and painful and beautiful and true. You should publish this, not for anyone else, for yourself, to mark this moment, this transformation. Also, you're a much better writer than you think you are. Have you ever thought about starting a blog, sharing your story? I think it would help other people who are drowning and don't know it yet. L. A blog, the idea was terrifying. It meant being vulnerable, exposing myself, admitting I'd been lost. But it also meant owning my story, controlling my narrative instead of letting others write it for me. I spent the weekend setting up a simple blog. I didn't overthink it, didn't try to make it perfect. I just called it Waking Up and posted what I'd written, my story of pretending, of losing myself, of finding the courage to start over. I didn't tell anyone about it except Lucas and Lily. I wasn't ready for judgment or questions or well-meaning advice. This was just for me, a record of my journey, a way to process what I was feeling. But then something unexpected happened. People started reading it. Anonymous comments appeared, people thanking me for putting into words what they'd been feeling. Messages arrived from strangers who said my story had given them the courage to make their own changes. I've been in a relationship for 5 years that makes me miserable, but I was too scared to leave. Your story made me realize I deserve more. I quit my job today. My family thinks I'm crazy, but I'd rather be broke and happy than wealthy and dying inside. Thank you for being brave enough to share this. It helped me feel less alone. The responses overwhelmed me. I thought I was alone in my pretending, my suffocating. But apparently there were thousands of people out there drowning in lives they'd built to please others, too scared or too guilty to choose differently. The morning of the Ahmadi family's asylum hearing, I woke up at 5 a.m., too anxious to sleep. This case had become more than just work, it represented everything I'd changed my life for. If I won, this family would have safety, opportunity, a chance to build a new life. If I lost, they could be deported back to the danger they'd fled. The stakes felt impossibly high. I arrived at the courthouse early, reviewing my notes one final time. The Ahmadi family arrived at 8, Mrs. Ahmadi in her best dress, her 3 children scrubbed clean and nervous, her elderly father-in-law holding himself with quiet dignity despite the fear in his eyes. "We trust you," Mrs. Ahmadi said to me in Pashto, which I'd learned enough of to understand. "Whatever happens, we know you fought for us." The hearing was brutal. The government attorney was aggressive, questioning every detail of their story, looking for inconsistencies that might prove they were lying about the danger they'd faced. I watched Mrs. Ahmadi break down as she described the day the Taliban came to her village, the day her husband was killed for the crime of teaching girls to read. I cross-examined witnesses, presented evidence, made legal arguments about the changing political situation in Afghanistan. But more than that, I made it human. I made the judge see this family not as a case number or a statistic, but as real people with real lives deserving of safety and dignity. When it was over, the judge said she'd render her decision within 2 weeks. We left the courthouse emotionally drained. Mrs. Ahmadi hugged me tight, whispering "thank you" over and over. I walked out of the courthouse and nearly collapsed from exhaustion and stress. My phone buzzed, a text from Lucas. "How did it go?" "I don't know, I think it went well, but I won't know for sure for 2 weeks. I'm exhausted." "Where are you? I'll come meet you." I sent him my location, too tired to argue. 20 minutes later, he appeared with 2 coffees and a bag of pastries from my favorite bakery. "How did you know about this place?" I asked. "You mentioned it once weeks ago. You said their cinnamon rolls reminded you of your childhood." He'd remembered such a small thing, but it made my eyes sting with tears. When had Marcus ever remembered the little things I loved? We sat on a bench outside the courthouse, drinking coffee and watching the city move around us. I told him about the hearing, about Mrs. Ahmadi's testimony, about the weight of knowing that a family's entire future rested on my shoulders. "You were made for this work," Lucas said. "I can see it in your face when you talk about it. You come alive." "It's terrifying," I admitted. "At the firm, if I lost a case, it meant someone lost money. Here, if I lose, people lose their lives. The stakes are so much higher." "But it matters, that's the difference. You're doing work that matters." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, then Lucas said, "I have something to show you if you have time." "I have time." He took me to his studio, a converted warehouse space filled with photography equipment, works in progress, and natural light streaming through massive windows. One wall was covered with photographs from his next exhibition, faces of people who'd rebuilt their lives after loss. "This is beautiful," I breathed, moving closer to examine the images. "You inspired it," Lucas said quietly. I turned to look at him. "What?" "After meeting you, I became fascinated by the idea of transformation. People who had the courage to walk away from the life they were living and build something new. I've been photographing them for the past 2 months. They're all people who made the choice you made, to stop pretending and start living." He showed me photograph after photograph. A 50-year-old man who'd left his career as a banker to become a teacher. A woman who'd divorced after 30 years of marriage and was finally pursuing her dream of becoming a painter. A couple who'd given up a suburban house to travel the country in an RV, teaching their kids on the road. Each face told a story of courage and transformation. "I want to photograph you," Lucas said, "for the exhibition if you're comfortable with it." "Me, Lucas, I'm not special, I'm just someone who made a change." "That's exactly why you belong here, Emma. You don't see yourself clearly. You think what you did was ordinary, but it wasn't. You gave up security and comfort and the approval of everyone around you to choose authenticity. That's extraordinary." I looked at the photographs again, at all these people who'd been brave enough to choose differently. Could I see myself among them? Could I claim my own courage? "Okay," I said, "photograph me." Lucas had me sit by the window in his studio, natural light falling across my face. He didn't pose me or tell me to smile. He just talked to me, asked me questions, made me laugh and think and feel. "Tell me about the moment you knew you couldn't marry him," he said from behind the camera. I thought back to that night, standing in our bedroom wearing the blue dress Marcus's mother loved. It was during his toast at the engagement party. He talked about how I fit into his life, not how we'd built a life together, just how I fit into his. And I realized I'd been making myself smaller and smaller, trying to fit into a space that was never meant for me. Click. Lucas captured something in my expression. "What did you do right after you left him?" "I went to Lily's, cried on her couch, felt like my life was ending." "What were you most afraid of?" "That I'd made a terrible mistake, that I'd thrown away something good because I was being selfish and stupid." "Do you still think that?" I met his eyes over the camera. "No, I think I saved my own life." Click. Another photograph capturing the certainty in my face. "What do you want now? Not what you think you should want. What do you actually want?" The question stopped me. What did I want? "I want to keep doing work that matters," I said slowly. "I want to write, even if it's just for myself. I want to stop worrying about what other people think. I want to be brave enough to be messy and imperfect and still believe I'm worthy of love. I want to live a life that's actually mine." Click. "And what about love?" Lucas asked softly. "Do you want that?" My breath caught. We'd been dancing around this for weeks. The connection between us, the attraction that hummed beneath every conversation, every glance, every accidental touch. "I'm scared of it," I admitted. "What if I lose myself again? What if I become who someone else needs me to be?" Lucas lowered his camera and came to sit across from me. "Emma, that's not love. What you had with Marcus wasn't love. It was a transaction. You gave up yourself, and in exchange you got security and approval. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It sees you, celebrates you, challenges you to be more yourself, not less." "How do you know that?" Because that's what I want, that's what I'm looking for, someone I can see clearly and who can see me, someone who's brave enough to be real. The air between us felt charged, electric. I knew what was about to happen. I could stop it, pull back, say I wasn't ready. Instead, I leaned forward. Lucas met me halfway, his hand coming up to cup my face gently. The kiss was soft, tentative, asking permission. I gave it, deepening the kiss, feeling something bloom in my chest that I'd never felt with Marcus, a sense of being fully present, fully myself, fully seen. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. I'm still figuring myself out, I whispered. I know. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I know that too. But I don't want to stop. Lucas smiled, his thumb brushing across my cheek. Then don't, we'll figure it out together, no expectations, no timelines, just honest, messy, real. Honest, messy, real, I repeated, I can do that. He kissed me again, and this time I let myself get lost in it, not the kind of lost where I disappeared, the kind of lost where I found something I didn't know I was missing. 2 weeks later, I sat in Sarah's office at Legal Aid, my phone in my hand, waiting for the call from the immigration court. When it rang, my heart nearly stopped. Hello. Ms. Sullivan, this is Judge Martinez's clerk. I'm calling about the Amati case. Yes, I could barely breathe. The judge has granted asylum, the family can stay. I let out a sob of relief. Thank you so much. After I hung up, I sat in Sarah's office and cried. Happy tears this time, tears of relief and joy and the overwhelming satisfaction of knowing I'd done something that truly mattered. Sarah hugged me. You did good, Emma, really good. I called Mrs. Amati immediately. Her screams of joy and relief, her prayers of thanks, her promise to light a candle for me at her mosque, it all felt more valuable than any partnership at a corporate law firm ever could. That night, I met Lily and Lucas at a small bar to celebrate. Lily toasted me with champagne. Lucas squeezed my hand under the table. To Emma, Lily said, raising her glass, who found her way back to herself and is now changing lives in the process. To new beginnings, Lucas added. To being honest and messy and real, I said, and we all drank to that. Later, as Lucas walked me home, something that had become our routine over the past 2 weeks, I said, I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm happy. For the first time in years, I'm genuinely, authentically happy, and it scares me. Why does happiness scare you? Because I'm afraid I'll lose it, or that I don't deserve it, or that it's too good to be real. Lucas stopped walking and turned to face me. Emma, you spent years being miserable because you thought that's what you deserved. What if you spent some time being happy and believing you deserve that too? What if I mess this up? I'm still figuring out who I am. What if I'm not ready for a relationship? Then we'll figure it out together. Emma, I'm not Marcus. I'm not going to ask you to be anyone but yourself. I'm not going to need you to fit into my life. We'll build something new together, something that works for both of us. And if it doesn't work, at least we'll have tried, at least we'll have been honest. I looked at this man who saw me so clearly, who had helped me find my way back to myself, who asked for nothing but honesty and presence. I'm falling for you, I admitted, and it's terrifying. I'm already there, Lucas said softly. And yeah, it's terrifying, but it's also the best thing I've felt in a long time. He kissed me under the streetlight and I kissed him back, feeling something in my chest expand and settle and finally feel like home. 3 months later, I stood in a gallery surrounded by photographs of people who'd chosen courage over comfort. Lucas's exhibition, after the ending, had drawn a huge crowd. Critics were calling it his best work yet. And there on the main wall was my photograph. Lucas had captured me in the moment. I'd said, I think I saved my own life. My face was a mixture of pain and strength, vulnerability and certainty. The caption below read, Emma, 28, left her fiancé and career to choose authenticity. I want to live a life that's actually mine. I stood staring at it, barely recognizing the woman in the photograph. She looked raw, real, brave. What do you think? Lucas appeared at my side, slipping his hand into mine. I think I look like someone who's been through something hard and came out the other side. That's exactly what you are. Lily joined us, champagne in hand. Your photograph is the talk of the exhibition. Everyone wants to know your story. They can read about it on my blog, I said, smiling. My blog had grown over the past few months, becoming a place where people shared their own stories of transformation. It had become a community of people who were choosing to wake up, to stop pretending, to live authentically. Marcus was at the exhibition. I saw him across the room, standing with a woman I didn't recognize. When our eyes met, he gave me a small nod. I nodded back. There was no anger anymore, no bitterness. Just two people who'd grown apart, acknowledging that we were both better off. Later he approached me. "Emma, you look good." "Thanks, you too." Awkward silence stretched between us. "I saw your photograph," Marcus said finally. "Your caption, is that really how you felt, like you had to choose between me and being yourself?" "Yes," I said honestly, "but that wasn't your fault. You wanted me to be someone I couldn't be, and I tried to be her because I thought I should want what you wanted. We weren't right for each other." "No," Marcus agreed, "we weren't. I can see that now." He glanced at Lucas, who was talking to a collector across the room. "Is he?" "Yes." "Good, I hope he makes you happy." "He does, but more importantly, I make me happy now." Marcus smiled, and it was genuine. "That's what matters. Take care of yourself, Emma." "You too, Marcus." I watched him walk away, feeling nothing but peace. That chapter of my life was closed. I'd learned from it, grown from it, and now I was moving forward. 6 months after leaving Marcus, I sat on my balcony, laptop open, writing. The city hummed below me, full of life and possibility. Lucas was in my kitchen, making dinner and singing off-key to music only he could hear through his headphones. Lily was coming over later with her new girlfriend to play board games. My life was smaller now, at least in terms of material things. My apartment was a fraction of the size of Marcus's loft. My paycheck was half what it used to be. I didn't have designer clothes or expensive jewelry or a wedding to plan. But my life was fuller than it had ever been. I looked at what I'd written, a new blog post about the anniversary of my decision to leave. I'd titled it, "The Night My Heart Stopped Pretending." It's been 6 months since I walked away from a life that looked perfect but felt wrong. 6 months since I chose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, myself over who I thought I should be. People ask me if I regret it, if I miss the security, the stability, the life I gave up. And here's my answer: I don't miss it for a second. Because that life was killing me slowly, day by day, choice by choice, until I was a shell of a person going through the motions, pretending to be happy. The life I have now is messier, it's uncertain. Some days I'm scared about money or the future or whether I'm making the right choices. But it's mine. Every choice, every struggle, every moment of joy, it's authentically mine. I've learned that happiness isn't about having the perfect life. It's about having an honest life. A life where you can be messy and imperfect and still believe you're worthy of love. A life where your dreams matter even if they're not practical. A life where you don't have to pretend. The night my heart stopped pretending was the night my real life began, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I posted the blog and closed my laptop. Lucas came out onto the balcony, 2 plates of pasta in hand. "Dinner is served, my lady," he said with an exaggerated bow. I laughed. "You're ridiculous. You love it." And I did. I loved his silliness, his passion. His ability to see beauty in ordinary moments. I loved that he challenged me to be more myself, not less. I loved that our relationship was built on honesty and presence rather than expectation and performance. "What are you thinking about?" Lucas asked, twirling pasta around his fork. "How different my life is now, how much has changed." "Better or worse?" "So much better. Sometimes I can't believe this is my life now, that I get to do work I care about, write what I want, be with someone who actually sees me. It feels too good to be real." "It is real," Lucas said, reaching across the tiny table to take my hand. "You chose it, you fought for it, you earned it." "We both did." He smiled. "Yeah, we did." My phone buzzed with notifications, comments on my blog post from people thanking me for sharing my story, for giving them courage to make their own changes. Each notification was a reminder that my decision to be honest, to stop pretending, had rippled out beyond just my own life. "I'm proud of you," Lucas said, watching me read the comments. "You're helping people." "I'm just telling my story." And sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do. Show people they're not alone, give them permission to choose differently. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I leaned back in my chair, Lucas's hand still in mine, and felt a contentment I'd never experienced before. This was happiness, not the Instagram perfect, carefully curated version, but the real, messy, complicated, beautiful version. The kind that came from being authentic, from choosing yourself, from having the courage to stop pretending. Hey, Lucas said softly, thank you. For what? For being brave enough to crash into me at the courthouse, for being honest about what you wanted, for choosing your work yourself. My life is so much richer with you in it. I squeezed his hand, mine too. And it was true, every hard choice, every scary moment, every tear I'd shed, it had all led me here. To this balcony, this man, this life that was authentically, messily, perfectly mine. The night my heart stopped pretending wasn't just one night. It was a series of moments, building on each other, each choice leading to the next. It was the night at the courthouse when a stranger saw through my facade. The night at the gallery when I recognized myself in photographs of invisible people. The night at my engagement party when I finally admitted I didn't want to get married. The night I left Marcus's apartment with just a bag of clothes and a desperate hope that there was another way to live. But if I had to choose one moment, one specific instant when everything changed, it would be this. Standing in that bedroom, wearing a blue dress I hated, looking at my reflection and asking myself a simple question. Do you want this life? And having the courage to answer honestly, no. That was the night my heart stopped pretending. Everything else was just the beginning of living. 1 year later, I stood in the courthouse, the same courthouse where I'd met Lucas a year ago waiting for another asylum hearing, but this time was different. This time I was confident in my work, I was present in my life, I was authentically, unapologetically myself. The Ahmadi family had thrived. Mrs. Ahmadi's oldest daughter had just started college on a full scholarship. Her son was on the soccer team at his high school. Her youngest daughter had won a writing contest. They'd sent me a card last week thanking me again for giving them a chance at life. That's what I did now, I gave people chances, and in doing so I'd given myself a chance too. My phone buzzed, a text from Lucas, how's it going? Good, about to go in, dinner tonight. Always, I love you. I stared at those 3 words. He'd said them for the first time last month and I'd said them back without hesitation, because I did love him. The real, messy, complicated kind of love where you saw all of someone and chose them anyway. But more importantly, I loved myself now, the woman I'd become, the life I was building, the courage I'd found to choose authenticity over approval. I walked into the courtroom ready to fight for another family's future, ready to do the work that mattered, ready to keep living the life I'd chosen. Because the night my heart stopped pretending was the night I started truly living. And I was never going back. The most courageous act is still to think for yourself, aloud, Coco Chanel. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Perque avat asterisk. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung.